Welcome to another round of Prem and Proper here at SDH. We'll take you through everything that is going on in the Premier League. We've had a sacking, and we had a matchup at the bottom that has already lent itself to one of the first jokes of the year. So we'll take through things chronologically and see how things shook out in the week that was in English top-flight football, going over the results, starting all the way back on your Saturday. First out of the blocks, Arsenal over Tottenham by the score of 3-1. That was an even money plus 100 for Arsenal at the Emirates. Southampton loses to Everton by the score of 2-1. That was at a plus 227. Liverpool and Brighton, 3-3 madness. Who would have pictured that one with the debut of Ricardo De Zerbi? And what we're seeing with Brighton after Graham Potter moves on, Ricardo De Zerbi steps in. Remember him from his time at Shakhtar Donetsk at a plus 376. Brighton shocks everybody, gets the 3-3 draw. Newcastle over Fulham by the score of 4-1 at a plus 147. Chelsea over Crystal Palace by the score of 2-1. Bournemouth and Brentford a goalless draw. West Ham and Wolves is where we will pick up all of our action. And West Ham gets the win over Wolves by the score of 2-0 at a plus 174. And when Scamacca ends up getting man of the match, here's what he's concerned about, courtesy of our friends at Sky in the Premier League.
And Luca, not just the goal scorer, player of the match as well.
Thank you, man.
Well done, brother. Family to say.
Well done.
Just see on the TV. I never see in the live.
Happy, huh?
Yeah, it's good, it's good. I think, I hope in the FIFA, capito? You know the FIFA, the rating. No, today we win, this is important.
Well done.
Thank you. Well done.
Obviously, we'll spend a lot of time next with the Manchester Derby. It was blue versus red, and it was all Manchester City. You can look at the final score. Final score was 6-3, but hat-trick Phil Foden, hat-trick Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland is putting up ridiculous numbers at a minus 222. So we hear from both of them, and after the match, you kind of wonder who was going to keep the match ball.
Just settle one thing for us. Who is going to take the match ball home?
I think we're going to get one each, no?
Yeah, I think we have to. One ball for the first half and one for the second half. You know?
Okay, well, we couldn't split player of the match either, so share that too, guys.
Here, Phil.
We'll cut it in half.
Pleasure. Pleasure.
Just settle one thing for us.
Then on Sky Sports, after that, you had Roy Keane, who was less than keen about the effort that was put forth by Manchester United. And there's a lot of Roy Keane venting his spleen. Was a poet, didn't know it. You hear from Micah Richards a little bit, but Roy Keane less than pleased with what went down in the 6-3 loss.
They were slower at the blocks. Ford mentioned earlier, they started again. They sent a message that they were up for it. Obviously, the first goal is huge. A goal done after 8 minutes. Never recovered. There were spaces everywhere. They were sloppy in possession. Rashford didn't get hold of it. The wide players giving away, just sloppy play. Every time City went forward, they looked like they were going to score. Man City were magnificent. Watching Man City, it is a pleasure. Watching them live, they're one of the best teams I've ever seen. But Man United, a huge step back from them. And again, we were giving them a little bit of praise over the last few weeks, but this is a huge step back. 4-0 at half-time. They were 4-0 at Brentford. And the performance in the second half, it's no good. Even this consolation, they scored a few goals. The game's over. Man City switched off. They made a lot of substitutions. There was no aggression in Man City's play in the second half. They were still obviously comfortable going forward, but defensively, very, very poor. Nothing from Man United to take out of this game, just real. I think from the players' point of view, they really should be embarrassed. You can't go in a half-time 4-0 in a derby game. It's hugely embarrassing. As brilliant as Man City were, United were desperate, particularly midfield. They got overrun in midfield, defensively all over the shop. Again, we look at leadership. There was nothing there for Man United.
Pep Guardiola said before the game that it always comes down to just a difference in quality between the players. And while Manchester City could argue they have the better quality on the pitch in this game, the application that Manchester United put in, particularly in the first half, the things that you're saying, the sort of immeasurable qualities that they were lacking in that. How can they excuse that in a derby?
For all City's quality in which they have, you still have to make it a little bit hard for them. We highlighted there at half-time, obviously the first few goals, particularly the first goal, it's 5-10 minutes into the game. It's not as if they've worn Man United down with their passing, they're tired. It's still early in the game, there's no aggression. You've got to close people down. If you drop off the quality of players of Man City, then you're going to be in huge trouble. Haaland and Foden were brilliant, but if they're getting the service when people like De Bruyne and you're giving them time and space, And you are looking for trouble, and they got punished, and rightly so, because this game is brutal. Top level sport is fantastic. It's brutal for Man United today. When you're not quite at it, you get hammered by your local rivals. Brilliant there for Man City, absolutely fabulous. 2 players there get interviewed, hat-tricks for both of them, fantastic. But for Man United, again, they should be embarrassed.
I just think with Man United, with the game plan, obviously we thought there was going to be more counter-attacking team. But if you see when De Bruyne was going to get the ball deep, their midfielders was trying to go and press De Bruyne, then was leaving the space right in the middle of the park. And normally what Man United do is go deep and then go on the counter-attack. But in the middle of the park, they tried to go man versus man, and it left a huge gap in between. All that allowed is the likes of Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne to get on the ball, Gundogan running forward, and it created that space for Haaland that was very, very naive today.
Everyone's got a plan before a game, but when the referee blows that whistle, and to be fair to Pep, he had that message at the start of the game. It's about the players, about the quality, smelling moments, seeing something, reacting to something. But Man United have an experienced team out there. You know, we were talking about how many players Man City were missing, but it was no problem to them. And the one word you'd always use at Man City, whoever comes into the team, is pure quality. That's what they have. Their decision making. They seem to always have time on the ball, whereas Man United just seemed all over the place. And the goals they're giving away, and you're hoping your goalkeeper might make the odd save. Again, imagine, I just can't imagine going into a dressing room when you're a big club like Man United and you're 4-0 down at half time. It must be bizarre, but saying that, they must be getting used to it because they've done it at Brentford. But the manager must be scratching his head with his staff and thinking, we've made progress over the last 4 games.
You got to give Christian Eriksen a lot of credit. Christian Eriksen was the one who stepped forward and presented himself to represent Manchester United in front of the microphones in the 6-3 loss. Here is Christian Eriksen after the loss, courtesy of, once again, our friends at Sky in the Premier League, followed by his manager, Erik ten Hag.
Yeah, I think it came very heavy. I think everyone feels it as a very, very bad day at the office.
What was missing today?
Yeah, I think we started on the wrong foot. I mean, they had a lot of chances straight from the game and straight from kickoff. And I think we can only blame ourselves from not coming really into the game at any point.
What was it you weren't doing? You say you started off on the wrong foot.
Yeah, I think we missed a bit of courage to play out from the back, and we let them be in their strength. I think the main focus after this game will be on ourselves. I mean, there's a lot of things that we need to change, a lot of things we need to do better. Today was far from acceptable for what we should be doing.
That's very surprising, having won your last 4. Were you surprised by that?
I'm surprised why we didn't bring that on the pitch. I've seen, but it's obviously 4 weeks ago, I've seen a different team, a different spirit, a different vibe, and convincement. And today we didn't have convincement. From the first minute on, we were not front foot and we were not brave in possession.
Easy to ask, but why was that?
That's always difficult to find out, especially straight after the game. I have to talk with my players, I have to find out. They know they can better. I see the performance Arsenal, see the performance Liverpool, but if you don't fight, and that's what we didn't, then you get a problem against a team like Man City.
Have you not seen a performance like that since the first 2 games of the season? I'm thinking particularly against Brentford.
I don't think you can compare it. This is definitely like against Brentford. Mental this, but different. Mental against Brentford we didn't run. Today we want to run, but we didn't follow the principles and rules. So undisciplined, but once again it was a lack of belief.
Now to the flip side, Pep Guardiola, and we had kind of figured this, that when you lead 6-1 and you win 6-3, that there might be some things to work on. Pep Guardiola, courtesy of our friends at Manchester City, said exactly that.
It was really good. I scored 4 goals that we couldn't score really more. So I was in the half time we thought we have continued, but it was more difficult. And they played better in the second half. But in the last minutes we were flat. But great victory, good game. Everyone was happy in the stadium, and they enjoyed it. We enjoyed it, and against our rival Man United. So good night good afternoon for us.
As well as the scoreline, for you as a coach, again, particularly in that first half, what did you like the most?
In general was really good. How how aggressive we were without the ball. They could not play because, of course, when they have Lisandro and Bruno and Eriksen and all of them, they have quality to play. We saw a little bit in a few minutes in the second half, but in the first half we were there in that terms. We were good to read the spaces, and after the quality of the players we have up front make the difference.
As well as the quality you have, was also on their show today, not for the first time, the desire.
It happened for the day one we are here, so this is not negotiable. So we can win or lose, but the effort and the desire and help each other. But many things we can do better, and some players still are not. They were not good today, and we had to improve.
Last match on Sunday was Leeds and Aston Villa, and that was a goalless draw. Back and forth game had its moments at a plus 242. After the match, our friends at Sky caught up with Liam Cooper and Patrick Bamford about the shared points with Leeds and Villa.
Patrick, Liam, it's another point, but just how hard did you have to work for that?
Extremely. I think that obviously the circumstances made it a little bit more difficult. But the boys are on the pitch the whole game, did outstanding to be fair, and we deserved the point at least. So brilliant.
What was your take, Liam?
No, exactly the same. I think the sending off changes the game. I think maybe the referee giving a booking so early in the game, it sort of sets the standard for what is a yellow card during the game, and it was a game what you couldn't really get a flow going. It was stop and start, and it was difficult. But I've always said if we can't go and get the 3 points, especially when we're down to 10 minutes, about managing the game and not getting beaten. We've managed to do that today, and yeah, the boys can be proud they've put a right good shift in there.
Just with that stop-start nature, I wondered, was it clear to you, especially you, Patrick, on the bench, perhaps why that was the case? You couldn't quite get going in that first half.
I think that obviously Villa had a game plan, and part of that was probably slowing down our momentum because they know that we like to play intense football. So I think that worked to a point, and then obviously the table was turned in the second half, and we had to do a little bit of that ourselves. So it was a good performance, and lads can be happy with it.
Yeah, I'm sure you would have come up with a plan at half time, but then to have the red card, Liam, what was going through your head when you saw it produced?
No, to be fair, we train with a man down in training, so it's coming useful today. We have a plan for when we go down to 10 men, and the boys done it perfectly today. Obviously, we're not going to have as much possession as we'd like with 11 men, but I thought the boys really dug in, and fair play to everyone, even the subs will come on. They had a right good go, and we move on to the next one now.
Well, the fans, I think, were pleased overall. You were cheered off at the end there. There are positives to be taken. It's another point. And for you, Patrick, personally, more minutes in the tank.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a few more to get up to full speed, but it was nice to be back on the pitch, obviously. You just want to play football, so hopefully I can put a bit of momentum together and start scoring some goals.
And for you, Liam, as well, the same. And I suppose when you look back to Brentford, 5 goals shipped in that game, to have a clean sheet as well. Yeah,
looking back to that, we've had a long while to stew on it, to be fair, but looking back to that game, that wasn't us. Made a couple of mistakes at vital times in the game, and it was about correcting them. And the boys have been brilliant today, and it's nice to be back out there after a stop-start pre-season for myself. But I just want to help the team as much as I can, and we're looking strong. The squad's looking strong. We've got a lot of people back now, and it's healthy competition.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time. Well done today.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
After the Wolves lost to West Ham, Wolves sacked Bruno Lage, and so our friends at Sky were camped out in front of the training facility and wondering who could be next on the touchline for Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Look, there will be front runners, there will be people being sort of linked all over, probably from Portugal, and yet at the same time, look, we know Wolves do things a little differently. So I'll tell you who they're being linked with. Anyway, Ruben Amorim is the Sporting head coach. He led Sporting to the title season before last, their first title in 19 years. They finished runners-up last season. They're in the Champions League. They're in Tottenham's group in the Champions League, preparing for a game against Marseille. Amorim, though, former Portugal international, is on a long-term contract at Sporting, so getting him out of that will be potentially costly for Wolves. There may be a slightly cheaper alternative if Sevilla part company with Jurgen Lopetegui. Now, he's a former Spanish national team coach, former Real Madrid coach. He actually almost took over at Wolves before Nuno back in, I think, 2016. So again, there's links between the owners here at Wolves and Jurgen Lopetegui. There's also Pedro Martins, the former Olympiacos coach, who is well known by Jorge Mendes and the owners as well. So that's 3 names to potentially look out for. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. James Collins and Steve Davis. Steve Davis, former Crewe head coach, and James Collins, the under-21 coach, will take charge of the game against Chelsea. James Collins only found out that yesterday afternoon when he was called to a meeting after a game for the under-21. So it's going to be interesting to see just a small matter of Chelsea coming up for them.
Well, I'm glad you've got your gloves and big coat, because I think you're going to be there for a few days, Anton. Thank you.
Then at the same time, after Liverpool went through the 3-3 draw with Brighton, they had Champions League on a quick turn. Jurgen Klopp was asked about how Darwin Nunez is getting adjusted to life with his new club.
It's good. Of course he's still adapting, how players always adapt. And this is now the new players come in, and everybody talks about them and wants them to shine immediately. That happens from time to time, and sometimes not. And only yesterday we had a long talk with Pep Linders, because my Spanish or Portuguese is still not better. And we just told him we are completely calm. So it's really important in our situation that he's now not starting. And he's not looking like he's worrying or whatever. So that why didn't start this game. He came from international, and he had DOMS in the hamstring. So when you get this information from them, the medical part gives you some kind of minutes, how long is he allowed to play, and don't start anybody who's allowed to play 20 minutes or 15. So that's that reason. But I know then it's again this kind of discussion what we open up a little bit from the outside for the outside world. Of course, the 3 game suspension didn't help him to settle. That's clear. But that's pretty much all. The team is not flying. That makes it not easier for a striker, especially not for a finisher. It's not that we create chances, but it's not that everything is clicking and we just put one player and he finishes our situation. So that's not our situation at the moment, as much as I wish it would be. And that's all.
Last match on the board, Leicester and Nottingham, and it was at the bottom. Leicester at King Power was the favorite at a -139. Nottingham Forest gives up 3 in the first half. It was not pretty, and the joke that we were referring to was basically it looks like Nottingham Forest could end up with more transfers than points in the 2022-23 season with that battle at the bottom. So let's get into the standings. And once again, you're in a very busy, compressed week with folks drifting over and playing in the European competitions. So after the first 8 matches, Arsenal's at 21 points, 1 loss in their first 8. Manchester City is drawn 2. They have not lost yet, 8 matches and 20 points. Tottenham is third, 8 matches, 17. Brighton, 7 matches and 14. That's your European places. Chelsea right now is 5th, 13 points after 7 matches. They've won 3 of 4. Manchester United getting blown out. They are in 6th place right now, 12 points after their first 7 matches. Newcastle and Fulham are 7th and 8th. They're at 11. Liverpool, Brentford, and Everton, 9, 10, and 11. They're all at 10 points with 2 wins. Goal difference from Liverpool right now is the difference, +9, +3, and Everton right now at 7 goals scored, 7 given up. Leeds is at 9 points, and their goal difference is dead even. Bournemouth is at 9 points. They've drawn 3 of their last 4, and their goal difference is -13. Aston Villa, 8 points in 14th. West Ham, 7 points in 15th. They snapped their 3-game winless streak with the win last time out. Southampton has lost 4 of 5, and they are at 7 points, goal difference of -5. Crystal Palace in 17th at 6 points. They have lost 2 of their last 4. Wolves once again sacking Bruno Lage after losing their last 2. They are in the relegation zone of 6 points and -6 in goal difference on 1 win. Leicester, Nottingham Forest. Leicester has a goal difference of -8, 1, 1, and 6, both teams currently. Leicester with 4 points, -8. Nottingham Forest with 4 points and a -15 currently when it comes to goal difference. So, looking at the upcoming matches in the Premier League, and once again, it is Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 8, 9, and 10. 10 o'clock Saturday, 4 starts. Bournemouth and Leicester at the Vitality. Bournemouth is a home dog at a +246, and Leicester is a home favorite at a +112. Your draw's a +264. Chelsea hosting Wolves. Chelsea a big favorite at a -256. Wolves is a +778 with whomever is on the touchline leading them in. Manchester City basically the same kind of a favorite as that you would anticipate with visiting Southampton. Manchester City at a -667. And Southampton north of +1,700. Newcastle at home. Minus 120 as Brentford visits. Your draw's a plus 289. Brentford's a plus 333. Your 12:30 late game on Saturday, Brighton and Tottenham. Brighton at a plus 181. Your draw's a plus 246. And Spurs are a plus 154. On Sunday, 2 9 o'clock kicks. Crystal Palace hosting Leeds at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace is a plus 114. Your draw's a plus 257. And Leeds United are a plus 245. West Ham hosting Fulham. West Ham's a favorite at a minus 128. Your draw's a plus 294. And Fulham is a plus 354 on the road. Arsenal and Liverpool, one of the marquee matchups of the weekend. Arsenal at a plus 161. Basically the same thing for Liverpool. Your draw's a plus 272 at the Emirates. Everton hosting visiting Manchester United. Manchester United a plus 102 on the road. Draw and Everton basically the same in and around plus 270. Monday Night Football, again, it's Nottingham Forest at City Ground hosting Aston Villa. And Nottingham Forest a plus 231. Villa's a plus 122. Your draw is a plus 252. Then you get into a very, very quick turn. You end up with Friday Night Football, Brentford and Brighton on the 14th. News in and around. We kind of got into the gossip, rumor, and innuendo about who could be the new boss for Wolves. Looking at anything and everything going through the papers. Daily Express is saying that Arsenal reportedly willing to use Albert Sambi Lokonga in a straight swap for Juve midfielder Manuel Locatelli, both players valued at around the £26 million mark. Scouts are also said to have cast an eye over Croat midfielder Lovro Majer in his side's 2-1 Nations League victory over Denmark at the back end of last month. Newcastle chair Yasser Al-Rumayyan revealed the Saudi-led PIF were offered a 30% stake in another Premier League club before they bought Newcastle. Chelsea boss Graham Potter was asked about AC Milan's Rafael Leao. He said he was a top player, didn't get into any speculation about possibly picking him up. The Times, Potter says that he insists he'll focus on getting N'Golo Kante fit before addressing the World Cup winner's fast-expiring contract at Chelsea. Everton's plan to exercise an option to sign Connor Cody on a permanent basis, not affected by the change of manager at Wolves. Forest have sounded out Rafa Benitez as a possible potential replacement for Steve Cooper, with the members of the club's recruitment team also facing the sack. And you look in and around lower divisions just as well. The independent, we mentioned the lower divisions because of Chris Wilder being sacked after 11 months at Middlesbrough. Gary O'Neill unlikely to return to Middlesbrough. Also, Leandro Trossard refused to dismiss speculation linking him with a move away from Brighton. Speaking of Chelsea, former head coach Thomas Tuchel turned down the chance to take charge of Bayer Leverkusen. Wolves target Julian Lopetegui. We heard about him earlier in the show, set to leave Sevilla in the coming days to pave the way for that possible move to Molineux. Speaking of Steve Cooper, Nottingham Forest owner Evangelos Marinakis is considering sacking Steve Cooper. We talked about the possibility of bringing in Rafa Benitez. Brendan Rodgers hoping to bring in Manchester United's Donny van de Beek for around £13 million as the Foxes are looking to find a replacement for Yuri Tielemans. So we'll keep an eye on that. And that's your quick run through the efforts in the Premier League for bringing folks in as everybody's starting to plan for the January window. So that's another round of Prem and Proper here at SDH. May your teams give you the results that you are looking for on a weekly basis. Enjoy it through all of the worldwide providers of the Premier League. And we will do this again one more time next week as we see how things have shuffled after the most current match week. And Erling Haaland continues to be a rather large beast that folks cannot control in the Premier League as Southampton comes to town on Saturday morning. So that is your round of Prem and Proper here at SDH. I'm just John. Played safe, everybody. Enjoy the games, enjoy the matches, and enjoy your teams in the Premier League.